everyone, it's Tuesday, and you know what that means. Another recap and review of American Horror Story Cult. This one is for episode 10, the penultimate episode of the season, and it's titled Charles Manson in Charge. Let's get to it. We open up with a scene from October 19th, 2016, the evening of the final presidential debate. Kai gets into a political argument with one of Winter's friends, and it ends with him slapping her. He did have a few valid points sprinkled in there, like how the only way to win is if people actually turn out to vote, but as the two get more and more heated, their conversation gets pretty malicious. There is no excuse for slapping someone, but where she crossed the line where Kai didn't is making it personal. Given what we know of Kai, I wasn't surprised at all that he slapped her, but I was surprised to see his reaction after it. It just makes you think about how much he's changed over the year, especially with where he ends up at the very end of this episode. 2 weeks later, Kai is having an anger management session with Frances Conroy as BB Babbitt. Given Kai's reaction to the slap in the scene before, perhaps any other anger management coach out there could have had a teeny tiny chance of reining Kai in, but instead, BB tells him that he can change the world. Trump is her favorite politician because he's the first world leader to start hammering away at the dam containing female rage, and BB wants Kai to do the same. His one purpose now is to release this feminine rage. Sure, he'll drown in it, but he'll die a legend knowing he saved them all. It's a solid scene that does pull some of Kai's past and present behavior together, but given the fact that American Horror Story is always littered with twists and turns all over the place, my misdirection radar here was going off big time. Back to the present for now, though. Kai has a pretty intense encounter with the opposition during one of his rallies. He's convinced the feds are spying on him and purposely riling them up. He gets hit with a good deal of pepper spray, marking one of the very first moments where we see Kai just really lose his cool and control. Yeah, he's had anger outbursts before, but this group and his paranoia really had him on the defensive. He's off, and the next scene continues to prove it. Kai's got Winter and Allie wiping down the ice cream truck because he's sure the feds are looking for it. When he leaves, Winter and Allie have a little heart-to-heart about Ivy. Winter continues to apologize, and I continue to believe she's being sincere, but fairly, Allie's not giving in, and when she recounts everything that's happened to her this season, kind of makes sense for her to not accept Winter's apology. But in a nice little twist there, then Winter reveals that she's under the impression that Kai killed Ivy. For a hot second, I did think that Allie might feel a little guilt for what she did, but then she asks Winter, what makes you think it was Kai, and with a smirk on her face, no less. Meanwhile, Kai is busy popping pills and watching news coverage of the fight at his rally and Senator Herbert Jackson's dismissive reaction to the whole thing. He is furious, and that rage leads us into our storytelling session of the episode, a tale about Charles Manson. In this rendition of Manson's story, we get Billy Eichner back as Tex Watson, Sarah Paulson as Susan Atkins, Leslie Grossman as Patricia Krenwinkel, and Billy Lord playing Linda Kasabian. Kai points out that Linda was instructed to stay by the car because Tex knew she couldn't carry out Charles's orders, reflecting what Kai's thinking about Winter at this very moment. Per Manson's instructions, the trio viciously murders everyone in the house, an event Kai describes as the opening of a larger plan. The lesson learned from this tale? They need to follow Manson's playbook, but do it bigger, something that Kai dubs a night of 1,000 Tates. Next up, we've got Gary leading some of the militia members into Planned Parenthood to steal a list of women looking to get abortions. Rather than go in with him, though, they lock him inside by himself. Then he's surrounded by everyone wearing their clown masks, and Kai talks Gary into being okay with his fate. Gary's killed, and the next morning an employee finds him dead in front of the facility. Beverly covers the incident on the news, and clearly she's not herself. During her on-air interview with Kai, she can't even look at him as he blames the murder on Senator Jackson and the woke warriors. At the restaurant, Winter tries to help Beverly and even apologizes for framing her for Detective Samuel's murder. Winter even gives her a train ticket out of town so that she can escape. I did think Winter had her convinced it was safe at a point, but then Beverly burns the ticket and professes her dedication to the divine ruler. Back at the house, Kai is frantically searching for bugs planted by the feds. He runs up to his parents' room and has a chat with his brother. Yep, a dead Vincent with some great-looking makeup, I've got to add. Kai tells him that he probably shouldn't have killed him, and also that he killed so many people now that it's going to be hard to keep all these secrets. After that, he's visited by a vision of Charles Manson, played by Peters, of course, who tells him to identify the Judas in his group. His was Linda again, played by Billy Lord, so this scene did leave me thinking this is probably the end of winter. When Kai leaves the room, Allie shows him she actually found something. It looks to be a bug, but before we address that, Bibi comes over for a visit. She's real pissed because Kai didn't unleash the female rage. He enraged everyone instead. Kai comes clean, telling her he never planned to follow the scum agenda. He only needed women's rage to tear it all down so that he's the last one standing. Bibi actually manages to overpower him, something that I didn't really buy. And just before she shoots him, Allie shoots Bibi. After that, we get some quiet time with Kai and Winter as she shaves his head. While she's got a razor in hand shaving his face, he chooses to ask her why she wants to hurt him. She says that's not the case, but admits that she's slipping away. The only way she can be there for him in the end is if she gets away from him now. At peak intensity of the conversation, Winter does cut him, but instead of getting mad or forcing her to stop, Kai just waits for her to finish, and then he actually says okay. It's a great scene with solid performances, and I was engaged enough to be watching their every word and reaction, but it's hard to forget this is Kai we're talking about here. I still had a feeling he was playing her, and then, sure enough, he tells her he got her a ticket to Montana, just like Winter did for Beverly. The episode concludes with the end of Winter. Kai pegs her as the mole, but Winter insists that she isn't, and Kai shows her the bug and a recorder that Allie found. Kai begs her to confess, but she won't, so he kills her. And that's when it's revealed that the militia member who came across as one of the most loyal of the bunch, that Speedwagon, was actually the mole all along. He rips his wire off in the car, but before he can drive away, Allie hops in it with him. Okay, so I am definitely still in, but after this episode, I am really wondering how they wrap all this up next week in a satisfying way, more so than I ever have. Kai's got to go down, but I just can't put my finger on who's going to do it. Allie seems like the most likely option, but I've watched enough seasons of American Horror Story to know that what I think will happen probably won't, or maybe it just won't happen the way I'm thinking. As I said last week, I would be shocked if they got away with turning Allie into a full-blown villain. Basically, every other character on the show is a killer, but the show is still making moves to redeem some of the characters, and in the case of this episode in particular, I did feel kind of bad for Winter. So that begs the question, can Allie pick off everyone in Kai's cult and still walk away the hero of the season? I'm actually thinking it's a no on that, and that then leads me down a theory path where I start to picture Allie being the leader of a cult of her own, maybe usurping Kai, eliminating the bad seeds, and possibly inadvertently getting people to follow her for the wrong reasons. The show's also gotta go out big, so I'm wondering if Kai's gonna make his night of 1,000 Tates happen next week. He is really losing it, and one thing I really appreciated about this episode is how it showed his current deterioration, but paired it with an earlier moment, highlighting his dangerous thinking, but also the fact that he did have a heart at a point, but those days are clearly long gone, and I'm kind of digging the idea of Kai having been presented as the strongest and smartest of the bunch, but then having him turn into the most impressionable, with him thinking the feds are after him, with him taking advice from Charles Manson, and also with him believing that that was a bug, even though Winter said it was a Fitbit battery. As for Winter, I'm bummed to see her go. I think Billy Lord was fantastic this season. She was great at having her character indulge in the extreme, but still feel like a living, breathing human being. And she had great chemistry with Peters, which was just so important for both characters all throughout Cult. As much as I would have loved to have her around for the finale episode, taking away Kai's one last family member does seem like the best way to make Kai more volatile than ever for the big finish. I'm also busy wondering what's in store for Beverly now. It does seem like she's been brainwashed, I guess, based on what she did to Winter, but if that's the case, I'm still wondering why she looked like that during the news segment scene. Only thing I could think of with that is maybe that was her way of luring Winter in and earning her sympathy so that she could then set her up. And now, of course, I've got to talk about Speedwagon. I'm actually really glad they were highlighting that character for a reason. It was played by Cameron Cowperthwaite. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. And actually, given what I said last week, where it seemed like a jarring shift going from Kai recruiting individually to amassing this larger army, it does make sense that a mole could slip in that way. I'm not entirely sure what his goal is because we know so little about who he is outside of him being an army member. He could be someone the Fed sought out. He could be law enforcement himself. I don't really know, and I was trying to read into that last moment with Allie to try and figure out what's up, and based on the way she got in the car, I'm kind of sensing that she might have been in on it because he didn't have a particularly big reaction to seeing her, but that's just another theory though. But for the record, I never saw Ivy's body on the floor during the scene in Kai's parents' room. So those are my thoughts and theories, but now I want yours. I cannot believe we've only got one more episode of the season to go, but it's been a blast doing these recaps and reviews and discussing everything with all of you. Before I close out this video, I need to give a Patreon shout out to a new Patreon member. It's Nick Mitford. Nick, thank you so much for joining up. I am so happy to have you, and I really hope you're digging the content here. Thanks to everybody for watching. Please share and like, and I will be back next week for a recap and review of American Horror Story called Episode 11, The Finale.